Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm covering a Facebook post that Michael Kidester, Wiktenauer director, posted back on February 14th. I know that it's late. I'm recording this right now in June, and this post is back from February. This is something I wanted to cover and read because I love supporting Michael Kidester's work, as well as everything that he and the other team behind Wiktenauer do. From his post, dated February 14th of 2026, I read, I received a message a few weeks ago from a friend asking a few questions about stuff they vaguely recalled me saying about some Zettel verses, and I realized that they hadn't seen my rhyming translation, or they wouldn't have needed to ask. So I took another look at it as I was sending it to them. And one thing led to another, and I'm now done another round of updates, mostly focused on fixing up some of the rough patches in the early sections, which I wrote when I was just starting out and my standards were lower. I also added roughly 2 pages of additional footnotes, corrected a few translation errors, and tweaked the formatting of the PDF a bit. The changes are now in place in the main Liechtenauer article, but you can also download a nice PDF here. And he has linked the rhyming Zettel translation here in his post. Included in this document are a page of bibliography sources, as well as a couple of pages for dictionaries and lexicons, as well as translations and related research, starting on page 44, going all the way to page 46. Having opened the PDF here, I will begin reading shortly. A couple of things before I begin reading. First, I apologize for any and every mispronunciation that I make in this recording. Next, I will be reading the new introduction, the old introduction, and then I will move down to page 34 to read the poetic translation of the Zettel itself. For this reading, I will go through first the new introduction, then the old introduction, and then I will skip to page 34 to cover the entire poetic translation, skipping over the pages that include multiple footnotes before it. If you would like me to read the pages with the footnotes in them, please leave a comment down below. An annotated transcription and poetic translation of the Zettel of Johannes Liechtenauer by Michael Kidester, Wiktenauer, HEMA Bookshelf. New introduction. After I released the first version of this translation in June, I got some requests to add a German transcription for comparison, and also for an annotated version explaining my translation choices. When I added the translation to Wiktenauer, I tried to address both of these requests. While the previous releases were based on the various witnesses to the Zettel that were included in copies of Sigmund Einrich's treatises and on manuscript 3227A, in parentheses it also says N, the subjects of 2 of my previous books, this one is modified to fit the unglossed witness included in the Starrenberg Fechtbook. In parentheses, Codex 44.A.8, Biblioteca dell'Accademia Nazionale dei Lincei e Corsiniana, Rome. Also occasionally called the Peter von Danzigen's, and abbreviated with the Siglum PD since it's the only known manuscript to include his gloss of Liechtenauer's Zettel on dismounted dueling. In 21st century HEMA, this is easily the most popular individual manuscript containing texts from the Liechtenauer tradition, so even though I personally don't love it, I think this will make it easiest to find other translations to compare to mine. While Wiktenauer uses Dirk Hagendorn's excellent transcription of PD, I retranscribed its Zettel myself, and that's what's included in this document. I have no complaints about Dirk's, but transcribing something yourself is a great way to be sure you know exactly what the page says, and it also means that any errors in this document are purely mine and not the fault of anyone else. I added hundreds of footnotes to the translation as I loaded it onto Wiktenauer, laying out my thoughts on the language, the structure, and the meaning, and have added a few more over time as my understanding of the Zettel continues to evolve. Those footnotes are also included here, and since they have a tendency to overwhelm the text, you can read a non-annotated version of the translation and transcription starting on page 34 of this document. Enjoy! Michael Kaiduster, October 5th, 2025. Old Introduction. 8 years ago, in 2017, Harry R. posted something remarkable, a free, complete translation of Hans Liechtenauer's famous poem called the Zettel, or Record, but one which rhymed like the original. When a 15th century reader looked at a gloss of the Zettel, what they saw was a poem, rough in some places, elegant in others, accompanied by explanations of its meaning, all written in their own language using fairly simple, straightforward words and grammar. Sadly, this is a reading experience that we often fail to capture in our English translations for a number of reasons. Attachments to certain German words is one of them, but a reluctance to try to write poetry is definitely another. Indeed, I've heard more than one HEMAist express surprise upon learning that the Zettel rhymed in German and was a real poem, not just some funny little sentence fragments. Harry's translation was groundbreaking to me, and I've used versions of it, with permission, in several of my Liechtenauer-centric projects since then, including my medieval gloss and a book I published with Dirk Hagedorn titled The Longsword Gloss of GMN Manuscript 3227A. Harry likewise published a revised version of it in 2019 in a book called Peter von Danzig. However, as I've done more Liechtenauer translations of my own, my ideas of what the Zettel is and what it means have diverged from Harry's, and his poem was less and less a good fit for my work, even with all the changes in wording I'd made to it by that point. When Dirk's and my newest book, Pieces of Ringek, was coming together in 2024, I initially approached Harry about using his work again. But in the end, I wrote a non-rhyming translation that lined up better with my translation of the gloss. A month ago, I decided it was time to try to create my own rhyming translation from scratch, to better reflect my ideas of what it means, and also play with the text in ways that aren't really available when striving for a literal translation. This document is the result. Liechtenauer's poem is written in free Mittelverse, a poetic form common in the German Middle Ages. Rather than try to replicate that, I chose a loose iambic tetrameter, a common form in English, for my version. This means 4 vocal stresses per line with one unstressed syllable in between, i.e. da-dum, 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 where the first da can be left out and or a final da added if need be. Among other things, this gave me extra space to unpack ideas that are a single word in German, but not in English. Within this structure, I tried to stick close to the German text, preserving as much of the explicit meaning as possible, while also exploring the subtext and underlying themes in ways that a literal translation doesn't always allow. I also tried to make sure that verses phrased similarly in the German were likewise phrased similarly in English, so that the parallels remained obvious. Over the course of this project, I studied every translation I could find with no obvious dependence on others to look for unusual readings that could make the poem better. I'm thus deeply indebted both to Dirk for all the transcription and translation work he has done, to Werner Uberschar for his Zettel commentary, and to J. Akut, George Bellinghausen, Stephen P. Cheney, Jeffrey L. Forging, Falco Fritz, Rebecca L. R. Barber, Per Magnus Holland, Jeffrey Hull, Jens Peter Kleinau, David Lindholm, Harry R., Thomas Stepler, Christian Henry Tobler, Christian Troskler, Corey Winslow, and Gregor Zabinski for their impressive and original translation efforts. If you're familiar with Harry's work, you'll still notice a few lines that are identical between his and mine. I really tried to do something different, but sometimes you can't improve upon perfection. Finally, the common translations of many terms were pioneered by Bellinghausen, Forging, and Tobler over 20 years ago, and it's hard to escape their influence, or even to fully document it. My initial pass was focused on the witnesses to the Zettel included in 9 Einring manuscripts that were the topic of pieces of Ringek, though I consulted other witnesses to look for interesting variations and to complete lines that seemed fragmentary. After I finished with Einring, I then attacked the variations and extra verses in N. The nature of the translation meant that minor differences in wording rarely had an impact, but all significant differences in meaning resulted in changes to the translation. In this document, you'll find both translations side by side for easier comparison. The couplets of the Zettel are numbered in the usual way, with N's unique verses having Roman numerals. Other non-Zettel poems are lettered A through F to distinguish them. No German text is offered here because the Einring text is a combination of several. These translations will eventually make their way into my books as new editions are released, but since it was a free translation that got me started on this path, it seems fitting that I give back and put this out into the wild to hopefully start others on new paths as well. These poems are licensed for free under the Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 license. Feel free to use them, quote them, post them, and share them around, but remember to credit me as the author and don't try to sell them without permission. Feel free to use them, quote them, post them, and share them around, but remember to credit me as the author, and don't try to sell them without permission. If you have suggestions for how these poems could be better, please let me know. And if you'd like to support me in working on projects like this, please consider supporting my Patreon. Michael Keiduster, June 5th, 2025. The Record of the Chivalric Art of Fighting, which was composed and created by Johannes Liechtenauer, God rest his soul, Grand Master of the art, begins here. First with the extended sword, then with the lance and sword on horseback, and with the retracted sword in the duel. Since the art belongs to princes, lords, knights, and soldiers, and they should learn and know it, he allowed this art to be written down. But because of frivolous fencing masters who would trivialize the art, it's written in obscure and cryptic words, as you'll find written below, so that not just anyone will learn or understand it, and that way those masters can't make his art common or open among people who won't treat it with proper respect. The Preface. Young knights, learn well what I teach here. Love God, and women do revere. For thus your honor great may grow, train chivalry and learn and know. Arts that adorn you well in play, and serve you well in war someday. gain wrestling's grips and holds at will, wield lance, spear, sword, and knife with skill, and ruin them in others' hands, as gallantly you make your stance. Cut boldly in as you close fast, charge through and clash, or let them pass. The wise ones hate and will disdain all those who praise themselves in vain. So grasp this, every art that's true shows measure, moderation too. A common lesson. If you would bring the art to light, go forth with left and cut with right. Indeed, in all things, left with right is how you'll strongly wish to fight. Whoever follows after blows, in this art little pleasure knows. So cut in close, your will revealed, no changer comes to breach your shield. Toward head and body let it run, the skirmish you should never shun. With your whole body should you strive, in what you strongly wish to drive. Now hear what's simple, black and white. Do not fence left when you are right. But if you find that you are left, then on the right you won't be deft. Before and after these two things, the font from which all true art springs. Seek always for the weak and strong, the word within remember long. Learn onward in this art until you can defend and work with skill. But if you easily take fright, you shouldn't ever learn to fight. 5 cuts now learn and understand. Perform them all from your right hand. Whoever will defend with heart, we vow that we'll reward their art. The text. The wrathful one hates crook and cross, so cock your eye and parting cause. A fool will parry all strikes, so pursue, run down, and set the blow. Now change it through, pull your point back, run through, slice off, or hands attack. Then angle, turn, expose them more. Strike, catch, sweep, and push your point for. The wrath cut. Whoever from above will strike is threatened by the wrath cut's spike. If they become aware and shove, fear not, just take it off above. Or if they're strong, then more strength show. Turn, thrust. If seen, take it below. Now notice well with watchful eyes. Cut, thrust, then hard or soft it lies. So act within, drive after more, but calmly do not rush to war. If at the war above they aim, go down below and bring them shame. Cut, thrust, and slice you must now learn to rightly find in every turn. You also must learn how to test which one of them would serve you best. Right there, whenever steel meets steel, if masters you'd confound with zeal. The exposures. Know this, there are but 4 exposures. Clear your path and aim for closure. Caring not how they appear, you may attack without a fear. Exploiting the 4 exposures. If you'd have vengeance, then exploit the 4 exposures all adroit. Redouble strikes above with glee, transmute below quite properly. Now let me make this plain and clear, no one defends without a fear. And if these truths you'll learn and know, then scarcely can they come to blows. The curve. Now throw a curve with crooked grace, onto their hands your point will race. Lure them out well, then curve down low, and step to hinder any blow. Cut crookedly up toward the flat, subvert the master's strength with that. When steel on steel above will spark, abscond and I will praise your art. curve not, cut short, and when you do, go low and look for changing through. Who down a crooked path will lead, the noble war ensnares indeed. They'll truly have no way to know where they'd be safe from any blow. The crosswise. Whatever comes down clear as day, your trusty cross takes it away. So crosswise go, both fierce and strong, and notice well what work belongs. Down to the plow now drive across, then yoke it hard up to the ox. Just cross yourself and take a leap, to threaten heads and make them weep. Mislead by missing skillfully, go low and harry willfully. Inversion forces and constraints, run through and wrestling holds you'll gain. Their elbow take, be sure then leap. Done right, their balance you will reap. Now miss them twice, and if you hit, then make a classic slice with it. The second time you miss, I say, 2 step in left and don't delay. The cockeye. When buffalo will cut or thrust, the cockeye breaks and enters thus. If with the changer threat they pose, the cockeye robs them as it goes. If you see them short-changing you, take your revenge by changing through. Down to their point you cock your eye, but fearless take their neck up high. Or cock your eye up to their part, if you'd destroy their hands with art. The parter. Cut from your part to seek your prize, and threaten them under the eyes. Then turn and take it down below, and threats against their heart bestow. Whatever comes down in this way, their noble crown takes it away. Slice through their crown, refuse to kneel, its beauty broken by your steel. Crush those who would with sweeps attack, slice through and then pull yourself back. The layers. In 4 layers only should you lie, hold there and vulgar guards decry. The ox that plows, the foolish one, and clear as day you should not shun. Displacement. Now 4 displacements learn with care, which also flush them from their lair. Be mindful of displacement's game. It guards you well or brings you shame. Should you become displaced at last, however this has come to pass, then listen now to what I say. Wrench off, cut in, and don't delay. Set on to 4 extremities. Learn to remain and end with ease. Pursuit. Learn to pursue and learn it twice, or into their defenses slice. When they're outside, take them on there. In 2 forms, start what work you dare. And check the path their threat has made, if pushing hard or softly laid. For this you must learn how to feel. The word within cuts deep as steel. Pursue them twice, and if you hit, then make the same old slice with it. Overrunning. If down below your sword they aim, flow over them and bring them shame. When steel on steel above will spark, stay strong and I would praise your art. Then do the work that will suffice, or press them hard and do it twice. Setting aside. Learn well to lure them out at will, then hinder cuts and thrusts with skill. Whoever tries to stab at you, your point meets theirs and breaks on through. From either side, both left and right, your swords will meet if forth you stride. Changing through. Learn to change through, your sword untied, then sharply thrust from either side. Whomever tries to bind on you, you'll quickly find by changing through. pulling. Now step in close, engage the bind, then pull, and what you seek you'll find. Pull back, if blades you meet, pull more. Devise a work that hurts them sore. Pull back whenever steel meets steel, if masters you'd confound with zeal. Running through. Hold pommel high, let point hang down, run through and wrestling abounds. When strength would press and oppress you, remember this, just run on through. Slicing off. Whenever hardness blocks your plays, slice off from underneath both ways. There are 4 slices you must know, 2 falling high, 2 rising low. Pressing hands. So turn your slice with great finesse, and crush their hands as in a press. The angles. 2 angles from the ground now guide, out from each hand, both left and right. Down every path a threat may fly. Cut, thrust, then hard or soft you lie. The spreading window. Spread windows wide that speech may flow, and hear their case with joyful glow. But snap the windows shut upon whomever tries to cut and run. Now let me make this plain and clear, no one defends without a fear. And if these truths you'll learn and know, then scarcely can they come to blows. The turns. If you lead well and break through right, to this end you may guide the fight. And breaking in with flashing steel, 3 wonders of the sword reveal. So angle point in straight and true, and turn your sword to follow through. Now 8 turns note with thoughtful mind, and weigh the paths that each may find. In each and every turn of sword, 3 wonders wait to be explored. They thus expand to 24. Count one by one, you won't need more. From either side, both left and right, learn these 8 turns when forth you'd strike. Learn these 8 turns when forth you'd stride. And check the path their threat has made, no more than hard or softly laid. This is Master Johannes Liechtenauer's fighting on horseback. Direct your lance with honor plain, against you all will ride in vain. If from the path you fall away, the end will see great disarray. Cut boldly now as you close in, draw not your blade from scabbard then, but pull them left and seize them right. You need not fence to win the fight. Learn this to joust or fence with lance, break calmly through in your advance. If sudden shift the fight then shows, and swords begin to trade their blows, then tie the strong up well and good, and mark them as a cut-purse would. Now learn to cover, strength displayed, and then whenever blade meets blade, fear not, but set upon your foe, and angle in from head to toe. Or if you'd harry and distress, then hunt them long and grant no rest. Whoever to defense will rise, your turn of sword will hurt their eyes. If they will yet defend at bay, catch well the reins and don't delay. Consider where they are exposed, your knife, not pommel, finds them most. 2 sweeps now learn so you may stand against all arms with empty hands. And when to wrestling they would sweep, defend and grab them like a sheep, while underneath their watchful eye, correctly grab as you fly by. Whoever falls on you with might, when riding against you, hold them tight, and let yourself hang toward the earth, while gripping over, show your worth. On either side, both left and right, against them learn to ride and fight. Now if you want to charge and ride your horse onto the other side, first cover strongly and suppress, then set upon and cause distress. When you defend, their sword catch wide, and carry near their handle tied, or wheel about to hunt again, prepared to harry and restrain. With every skill that hunters learn, seek your advantage as you turn. Should you ride forth without relent, but end up left without intent, then worry not, but their sword find, and wrestle well, push hard and bind. If someone hunts you on the right, turn halfway round, prepare to fight. With arms arranged to catch and clear, no harm can ever venture near. Just as their knife you would have claimed, now learn to take this, unashamed. The grip that has no name and force, to twist the strong without remorse. Destroy their strikes and thrusts like this, no need for fencing's artifice. If you would grab them as you ride, don't fail to move up alongside. To show the sun and make them bow, take first their left sleeve firmly now. Then grab their head in front with skill, and press it upward hard until they sink down low and show respect, and then might never stand erect. If taking you down low's their aim, then grab them high and bring them shame. Press arm to head, their grip defeat. This often robs them of their seat. But should you seek a measured course, to catch and hold them on their horse, then with this wrestling they'll be found, and without rope they will be bound. Remember well the grab that leads, for this will break their strength indeed. Fighting in armor, on foot. When you dismount or lose your horse, the fight on foot must take its course. Begin by taking up your lance, defended well in either stance. Its sharpened point will serve your needs, so fearless take the thrust that leads, then leap and turn and set upon. If they defend, pull and you've won. If you would make the leading thrust, then pull and break through guards you must. Now if your foe fears injury, and backs away and wants to flee, then follow close and seek your chance to catch and hold as you advance. Wrestling in the duel. And if you'd wrestle, learn to leap, your foot behind their front leg sweep, or deftly lock the leg you catch, just like the closing of a latch. From either hand, both left and right, if artfully you'd end the fight. If it should come to pass that here, the sword is drawn against the spear. Observe the way they thrust, then leap, and catch and wrestle as you sweep. What they extend, your left hand beats. Leap surely in, catch what you meet. Should they again fear harm and pull back from your catch and your control, then you will find them all exposed, your point harassing unopposed. And leather, gauntlets, and the eyes, toward these exposures you should rise. Forbidden arts of wrestling learn, and wisely bring them forth in turn. Then find a lock to do them wrong, and with it overcome the strong. In every lesson that you learn, your point toward the exposure turn. When each from scabbard draws their sword, and both face off with one accord, then you should strengthen in the fight, and bear in mind to cover right. Before and after these two things, learn well to gauge with backward springs. Pursue whenever steel meets steel, if you'd confound the strong with zeal. If they defend, pull back and thrust. If they defend, rush in you must. If they should fight you long and wide, then artfully their fate decide. If they attack you fierce and strong, defeat them when you shoot in long. The other point can guard and smite, so meet their sword, and don't take fright. With either hand, both left and right, turn then your point to piece their sight. The forward foot is quite exposed. You must defend yours well with blows.